We have previously looked at 3 simple rules to mastering significant figures. Today we're going to take a look at a few more practice problems on trailing zeros and the exceptions of the definition of trailing zero. Rule number 1, as we know it, is that non-zero integers are always significant. The second and the third rule are connected. Zeros are not significant unless, the second rule, they are in between 2 significant digits. This means that unless the zero is sandwiched, right? We looked at examples of zeros being sandwiched between 2 digits. Or the third rule, they are trailing zeros after decimals. We're going to take a look at what trailing zeros actually mean and what are some ways we could define this a little bit better. So, in order for a zero to be significant, one portion of this clause says that the zero would have to be after decimals. Looking at this problem, 0.01, does this mean that this zero is significant? We know the first one is not significant because this zero is not sandwiched between something to the left of it. But this one is actually also not significant. The reason is because this zero is not trailing. In order for something to be trailing, not only does it have to be after this decimal point right here, but we also know that in English, when something is trailing, it's usually left behind. So this zero is not left behind. In fact, this one would be the one that's trailing. So this zero is not significant, which leaves us with one significant figure for 0.01. Now let's take a look at this one. We have 2 zeros in between now. Does this make it maybe significant? Unfortunately, all 3 zeros are not significant once again, because again, this zero is not sandwiched, this zero is not trailing, and this zero is not trailing despite the fact that they are after the decimal, which leaves us with one significant figure again. Now let's take a look at this one. It's exactly like the one before, but oddly, there's a zero behind it. So in math or in science, the only reason why we would add an additional zero is if that zero means something, right? If that zero is significant. So we could say from the previous experience that the first 3 zeros are not significant. This zero is definitely significant because it is first after this decimal point, right? So it gives us an accuracy. But also, this zero is trailing after this 1. So this zero is the last thing that is in this value. This leaves us with 2 significant figures for 0.001 with a 0 trailed behind. Now let's take a look at this. We know the first 3 zeros are not significant. This 0, although not trailing, is after a decimal. We would say that this one is not significant, but because this 0 is sandwiched between 2 1s, this makes it significant. So here we have 4 significant figures. This next one, the first 2 definitely not. We have 2 zeros here. These 2 zeros are not significant, but because they are sandwiched between these 2 1s right here, it makes it significant. This 0 is after the decimal and happened to be the smallest value that is reported, and it's also trailing at the end of this value. So this makes this 0 significant. So in total, we have 5 significant figures here. This next one, wow, look at how many zeros we have after the decimal. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them before this 1 and after the first 0. Unfortunately, none of them are trailing because 1 is the one that's trailing. This one's the last reported accuracy digit. So all of them are not significant, and we only have 1 significant figure. So there you go for the 3 simple rules in mastering significant figures.